Hey, good morning. It's Patricia Murphy. It's Monday. This is Seattle Now. The supply chain is slowing down. Shipping containers are stacking up, and the holidays are right around the corner. We'll hear from a local publisher and a neighborhood bookstore about how shortages and delays are impacting their businesses. But first, let's get you caught up. Washington's lawsuit against three major opioid distributors starts today. This after Attorney General Bob Ferguson rejected a $26 billion settlement deal. McKesson, Cardinal Health, and AmerisourceBergen are accused of fueling the opioid crisis by failing to keep tight controls on where their drugs were being sent. Ferguson says they shipped hundreds of thousands of suspicious orders to Washington that likely went to illegal dealers. After just 13 games, Jimmy Lake is out as head coach of the Huskies. UW Athletic Director Jen Cohen said yesterday that Lake was let go for a variety of reasons, both on the field and off. He was already suspended for Saturday's game after appearing to hit a player while breaking up a fight. A Seattle Times story alleging Lake also shoved a player in the locker room back in 2019 couldn't have helped. Assistant coach Bob Gregory will finish out the season. And the University Bridge is back open after some unscheduled downtime over the weekend. Crews had it working again Sunday morning after it got stuck for almost 48 hours. SDOT says it was an electrical problem, nothing structural, but still doesn't fully know what caused it. They'll be checking the city's other bridges to make sure there aren't any other issues. About a month ago, I ordered a new vacuum. I did a little research. I found a nice one on sale. Within a week, I got a notification that it had shipped. Just a few more days, the email said. But my vacuum never came. When I called the company, I learned that what I would be getting instead of my vacuum was a refund and very little explanation. Something had gone sideways with the shipment, they said. This is happening all over. Delays in the supply chain are hitting every industry, and that is going to make trying to do business or shop heading into the holiday season a challenge. Seattle Now producer Jenny Cecil Moore headed to Pike Place Market to hear what's going on for one local publisher.
I just love this, Curtis.
Oh, yeah.
They're incredible. Look
Yeah.
at these details.
I know. We are actually in the process of making...
I'm at Chin Music Press, talking with Bruce Rutledge, who runs the business with his wife, Yuko Enomoto. They launched the press in 2005 and now have 100 titles in print. They publish literature, graphic novels, art, and nonfiction. The store is on the third level of the Fairley building at Pike Place Market, and a wall of west-facing windows fills the shop with light.
We started really sort of as a hobby, kind of a burning the midnight oil, publishing a few books, and then it just started to become addictive. And I've heard this from other publishers where you just felt like, I'm in this for the long run. These stories need to be told, and some of it is so fun, some of it is very frustrating, but some of it is so fun to put a book together. Our new titles are on this table here, a wide variety. You can see there's a Japanese-American story. In the beginning, we just did a few books a year, and we concentrated on literature and translation from Japan, Korea, and China, Northeast Asia, because we felt at that time that was sort of an underserved market. Our books are not cookie cutter. There's no sort of house design. Each book is thought of as its own entity, and then we figure out what kind of paper it deserves, what kind of binding, should it have color. Those things fascinate me. I've always been a bibliophile, so figuring out the best version of this story in book form is just fascinating to me.
That's so cool. When you say it's addictive, I could see that just being exciting.
Yes. Exciting in all the manifestations of that word. Sometimes it's aggravatingly exciting.
Some of the strong feelings Bruce is experiencing right now are connected to the shortages and delays that are disrupting many industries, not just books. When you hear supply chain problems on the news, this is what they're talking about.
The shipping from overseas, if you're printing overseas, is very unpredictable. We have containers, people have probably seen this in the news, containers just sitting outside of LA port, waiting maybe weeks, and trying to get books in right now for the holiday season has been very stressful.
Bruce says 2020 was the best year for book sales. The pandemic increased interest in books while people were at home and suddenly with more time on their hands. The concern right now with shipping delays and a shortage in supplies is keeping titles in stock. This bottleneck is happening right down the road at the Port of Seattle.
This is unprecedented. If you drive by Lumen Field and you look out towards the waterfront, you're going to see a lot of containers stacked up. Terminals do not want containers sitting on their docks. No one is making money when those containers are sitting there. It's costing money.
That's Steve Velasky with the Northwest Seaport Alliance. He says that the time it takes for a container to arrive from China has tripled or quadrupled.
Normally here in the Pacific Northwest, we don't have vessels going to anchor. And lately we've had anywhere from 10 to 15 waiting. And some of those vessels have waited 3 weeks to just get to the berth. This is impacting everything. I mean, we import most of our goods now. Part of the reason it's such a big phenomenon is that it's not just here, it's globally. Anywhere from 200 to 300 ships waiting to get into a berth in China alone. So that is definitely a big part of the problem.
Steve says container ship costs are up 300% year over year, and air freight is up 150% for the same period. Add in a labor shortage, and things are pretty snarled up. Bruce at Chin Music Press is seeing the effects at every stage of the business.
There's transportation, of course, there's supplies, paper prices have gone up. You pretty much need to go with the printer's stock paper. Special orders are going to extend way out weeks. There's also the same thing I think the printing industry is finding, that the restaurant industry is finding, that when people were laid off and they had time to think about what they wanted to do with their lives, they didn't rush back to their old industry. So, there's a bit of a labor shortage, and that slows things down as well.
Publishers set their prices up to a year in advance. They're not expecting the global supply chain to come to a virtual standstill. Bruce says he's been covering these extra costs himself. But if they don't drop and keep cutting his profits, he'll have to raise his prices at some point. Just a few minutes up the hill from the market, shoppers stop in Queen Anne Books to browse. The store is warmly lit, decorated with posters, and paper garlands are pinned across the window.
Here we are in the children's section. On Saturday and Sundays, you would come in and find children laying on the floor with their books.
Wendy Weeking is the manager of Queen Anne Books, a community bookstore nestled between a cafe and salon. Trying to make the correct call on book orders is part of Wendy's daily guesswork.
What we're realizing is that with the paper shortage and with ink shortages and with worker shortages, the publishers have their backs up against the wall as much as anyone else and are having to reduce the numbers of books that they're actually printing.
The store has been working to get new and popular titles on the shelves, something that's hugely important as the holiday season ramps up.
So we're seeing very popular authors and top titles being printed at smaller quantities, which means all of us bookstores across the country are scrambling for smaller numbers of books.
Dealing with shortages and delays forces booksellers to predict what's going to be popular and order early. But if they can't get those certain titles for the holidays, then they'll rely on the core of their business, which is knowing their customers.
The beauty of shopping at a local store like ours or any other neighborhood bookstore is that your booksellers are going to know you, but they're most importantly going to know their own inventory. And it kind of falls back on what we do day to day anyway, which is to help customers figure out what books they're looking to read or how we can help them find a new author based on what we know they already like.
For businesses, the key to survival is adaptation. It's clear that problems with the supply chain won't disappear overnight. Back on the publishing side of things, Bruce recognizes that business as usual no longer applies.
I don't think that we're going to go back to what we had pre-pandemic or a few years ago anytime soon. I think that we're going to have to get used to longer time for print runs, longer time for supply chain, shipping. And I'm not pessimistic at all about the industry. It's really in a pretty good place, but the whole process of getting books to market is changing right as we speak. So we're just trying to figure out how to adapt.
Seattle Now producer Jenny Cecil Moore. Thanks for listening today. Our production team is Diana Opong, Clare McGrane, Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, and Jason Pagano. Matt Jorgensen does our theme music. I'm Patricia Murphy.